Hello, everyone. My name is Oscar Montiel. I am from the No Nonsense podcast. And before you watch this episode, just a disclaimer that two episodes this season will be a little dark and a little bit serious toned. So we would greatly appreciate it that even though we have a lot of fun, doing episodes for you guys, that your comments, questions, comments, and concerns are respectful due to the nature of the topic related to these episodes. And the episodes that I'm referring to are Oscar's Dark Rise and Naeem's Microscopic Insecurities. These are going to be two serious based episodes, so we would greatly appreciate it that you be respectful of what is said in this episode. We know certain things to you, the fans, may be as you may brush it off, but sometimes it is a serious matter. We are humans, we do have feelings, um, so just keep that in mind. But other than that, this has been just a disclaimer. Let's kick it off to the episode. And we're live.
Hey everyone, welcome to the No Nonsense. Hey everyone, welcome to the No Nonsense podcast. I am your co-host Naeem Abul Hawa, or host, co-host, whatever it is, and I got my co-host here, Oscar Montiel, and we are in store for a great episode this evening. I hope you guys are enjoying your autumn. Just the early days of autumn. The evenings are nice and cool and crisp. You can hear the crickets out back behind me. I don't know if you guys can, but it's definitely nice
I
weather
can.
tonight. The skies are clear here in the 22182 zip code, and evening temperatures here currently are in the 50s somewhere.
Not
Skies
even
are clear,
close.
sunny, all nice. And yeah, today is September 23rd, the second official day of the autumn season. So pumpkin spice everything, y'all. Pumpkin spice everything. Okay, how are you, Oscar? How's everything?
I'm doing well, man. I can't really complain. Just doing the same old, being stuck here in quarantine. So
Are you
really
gonna get
nothing
your
much.
pumpkin spice fix soon, or you're gonna wait till
So
mid-October for that?
it's so unfortunate that my sister decided to leave because I don't have any link to that other than her.
And
So
so she's your pumpkin spice
I
connect.
yeah, exactly. So I have no way of getting it, unfortunately, and she's gone for the next 3 weeks to like a month.
So you're just gonna be you're gonna be fiending for some pumpkin spice. Just don't itch too hard, because you know what they say: when you itch too hard, your skin starts to get irritated. Okay, that was a poor comparison between pumpkin spice products and drug injections. I guess that was poor and distasteful of a joke. But to more serious matters, tonight we're going to be having a great conversation with Oscar about what defines him and what defines who he is and how he holds himself, and really the most formative experiences that shaped his character today. So we're really going to get personal this evening, and we hope for the utmost respect, but also the deepest of engagement. His story, as is the case with everyone's story, is going to be relatable to everyone in one way or another, but it's also going to be unique and individual to him. So, with all respect requested and all respect appreciated, we also want to see whether the themes of our stories, our experiences, and, just the parts of our lives that make us who we are, could help in lending support emotionally, morally, or otherwise to all of y'all out there who are taking the dear time to engage our experiences and get to know who we are. So I really don't want to steal Oscar's thunder. Tonight is his night, but I will, like I said, ask for a degree of respect and a degree of appreciation for the value and themes that can be taken away. There will be a moral of the story, I gather, but I wanted to allow Oscar to be sure to be able to tell his story how he sees it most unique and individual to him. So without further ado, here's the floor is all yours, Oscar. Go ahead and take our audience deep into your personal experience, if you'd like.
So thank you, Naeem, and I actually really couldn't say it better myself. And this is going to be a main theme for your episode and my episode as well. Is you know, we as humans go through different trials and tribulations. However, one trial that one human experiences, you know, another person can say, oh, you know, whatever. But sometimes, it can't be like that. And unfortunately, I had to learn it the hard way. If you guys did not catch up with what was said, because I'm going to allude back to a couple of episodes that were touched on here, is the episode I did with a very close friend of mine, Philippa, and a very personal, you can call him my mentor, Mr. Joseph Campagna. We did that last episode, and then we're going to touch a little bit on, what I was talking about in my personal journeys episode, or whatever it was called, in season one. Just because there's a lot, and I mean a lot of things to continue and talk about for this episode. So again, we would greatly appreciate it that you guys, as small as our insecurities or issues may seem to you, it is something tremendous. It's been tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been through a lot, and I'm only 23, going on to 24 here in 3 or 4 months. But let's get into it. So I'm gonna touch more on what was talked about in season one, and a little bit more with companions, because we weren't able to. I because I chose not to, just because I'm not sure if Campagna picked up on it or not, but there were certain things that you know he did pick up on. But so it starts off when I was 14 years old. You know, my mom having very, very horrible health issues. Um, she, was in and out of the hospital in between 2009 to 2012 due to treatment. In that time, we actually um, someone that came here to the country to have good opportunities. But and she was a family friend. Let's just put it that way. She was a family friend, and um, we took her in. We invited her to our different family trips, our different family vacations. Heck, you know how Niagara Falls, Naeem, is there's one side on Canada side, and there's one on the Buffalo, New York side. So we were trying to rack our brains on how it would be possible for us to go to experience the same thing that Niagara Falls is, because you know Niagara Falls is nice, nice waterfalls. So we there were a couple of folks, and even I stayed back. um we stayed back to experience the Buffalo side, while my family on the other side experienced the Canada side of Niagara Falls. So this is the extent of how we treated this person. um Little did we know, even though I suspected it, um just because of the what was going on. My mom left to El Salvador and was, again, as I stated earlier, in and out of the hospital. So that left, my dad and this family friend of ours, um, alone most of the time. And sometimes, and Naeem, you know what I'm talking about. They would love to watch little soap operas, but you know, if you want to watch your soap operas, you can, one's person, you know, if you're married to someone, or you're with, I don't know what you call it, a significant other, but you're not, with that person physically at the moment, but you have someone from the opposite gender there, that has the same interests, you know, it's kind of expected, unless again, as I stated, there are going to be things said and in this episode, and I don't want to insult anyone, but I don't want also to people insult us in any way either, because this is how I'm gonna put it. There are those scumbags that just don't care, but um that's the way I perceive it. But this person, sat next to my dad for some weird reason. Like, they were all like, sitting next to each other, and I kind of suspected, and I did let my mom know. I'm like, hey, this isn't right. Some things up. Uh, you might wanna, watch your back. You never know. But my mom, I was 14 at the time. You know, I was 14 at the time, and she was like, you're just a kid, you don't know anything, whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Fast forward a few months later, it is determined that my dad did, cheat on my mom with this person. Um, and I didn't want to, say anything, but it was the "I told you so" moment. And at first I was very, very, troubled. Didn't allow to. I didn't have anyone to talk to, because this happened when I was in middle school, and this is the start, if you will, to my dark rise, if you will. I'm gonna, um divvy this up into little sections. This is the start, you know. So my dad, my mom have their, troubled relationship. My mom decides to stay with my dad, just for the sake of the kids, as they would like to call it. But there were trust issues. I'm not going to say they weren't. But it was just a lot. It was a lot of arguing back and forth. But they made it worth it. It looked healthy up to a certain point. It looked like the affair was put behind them. So 2 years later, my mom again, as I stated before, 2000, I misspoke. It was from 2009 to 2013, because I remember she had cancer as well, in that span, along with tearing her meniscus as well. Um, so, you know, freshman year of high school, as stated before, Campagna, that's how I got to know Campagna. How my advocacy story started. Again, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I suggest that you guys look at what was said in the blindness from the sighted perspective episode, and personal journeys episode from season 1. But I started to learn to self advocate for myself, little by little. Um, when I was, and at the same time, my family, my mom was going through cancer treatments, in and out of hospitals due to things, in her digestive system growing. We were very close to losing her due to these, chronic health issues. Um, so that that really, you know, with that, I just, during that time frame, because I remember, when my sister first found out, she was teary eyed. She came to me crying a morning before I had to go to school. I went to school not knowing how to process certain things because it was early in the morning. Um, and when it finally hit me, it's important to talk to people. Very important to keep people close. I didn't do it though. I just kept to myself. A lot of people um came up to me, saying, "Hey, hey Oscar," and how be the smiley, and that's the type of man I am. That's the type of person I am. I'm not. If you see me and Naeem again, you can vouch for this. Whenever you would like to cut in, you never know. When something's. I don't allow a lot of things to get to me. I don't. That's not who I am. But a lot of people, I wasn't myself. A lot of people, would say, "Hey, what's up, Oscar? What's going?" They would try to, maintain a conversation with me, but I would just not be interested. I've been like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" and just, walk off, walk away. You know, it was that bad. It was that bad that the closest people, Campagna, the special ed coordinator who at the beginning we had a rocky relationship, but as the years went on, she became my one of the most supportive people throughout my high school career. you know a lot of friends, um everyone, just shunned everyone. Imagine that. I wouldn't talk to no one about my issues. And I think my mom picked up on it. And here's the thing, she she noticed that as much as she didn't want people to know that she was going through health issues, because she told me straight up, because I told him, like, do you want me to talk to people, just to know, so that way they know what's going on. She was like, you know at first she was like, no, don't, because I don't want people to know about my life or whatever. But I think as time went on, because I needed it too. I definitely did, because a lot of people, I caught, in the later stages of sophomore year to, what was it, junior year. I cut a lot of classes. As Campagno stated, that I was just, after 5 minutes of class, I would just literally walk out. I literally would walk out, go to his room, go to his classroom where he would be, and just hang out there, not even do my work. I would smile in the teachers' faces. So yeah, I'll do your work. I just don't want to be distracted. I just didn't care. And here's the thing: junior year is known as your crucial year to get things straight, because that's when you need to pass your reading as well. You need to pass your writing as well. And thank God that we didn't have to pass the research paper to graduate either. Even though I passed that, but I'll get into that soon. Junior year for me, it was trash. It was garbage, because it was a tank year. A lot of family thing. My mom's health issues um came to a head. It was just a very bad. It was a tank year. I was failing classes left and right because I wanted to. I didn't show up for classes. I opted to, stay in a little office, stay in Campagna's room, just because I didn't want to learn. Like, that was my mentality. Like, I just didn't care. Like, it was that bad, you know. And here's thing. I failed so horribly. Um, so that was my mental state. To put it in perspective. Sophomore, junior year, and then of course, towards the also what I was also um dealing with was another family issue arised. My mom cheated on my dad, uh, and we had to deal with that aftermath. And I'm just going to give an example of what that aftermath was. Um, I guess because my dad finally, after years and years and years of treating my mom horribly, I guess to say it. I don't know. Not treat her horribly, but not treat her the way that a husband should treat their wife or their kids for that matter. Because there were times that he would try to manipulate us and manipulate me. Um, there was a time where we were having a family discussion. He was kind of tipsy or drunk. I don't know. I don't know if he was tipsy or drunk, but I'm not sure. Um, and the conversation was fine. He was coherent. He was able to, we were talking fine. And then he did tell us, it was very calming. And he was a kid's, I would like to have a word with my mom, with your mom, just for 10-15 minutes. And so my siblings and I, we granted them that. um we we granted them that. And seeing that there was nothing wrong, I just decided, hey, um, there, it's okay. So nothing major is gonna happen. I'm just gonna go ahead and shower. Because I think I had a haircut earlier that day, and I didn't get a chance to wash myself off after that haircut. So um, you know, everything, like, I think everything is fine. However, when I step out of the shower, I hear a lot of screaming, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, Oscar, come help us, come help us. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, call 911, call 911, and I'm like, okay. And then, it finally dawned, like, oh, okay, so, my dad, beat my mom in front of us. Um, so it took a lot of courage. Even my dad told me to hang up. It took a lot of encouragement for my siblings to continue because, I called 911, and I was kind of shaken. I was like, they were like, nine, the current, 911, what's your emergency? And I'm trying to fill them in here. And my dad's like screaming, hang up the phone, hang up the phone, hang up the phone. And my siblings are like, don't do it, keep going, you know. And we've heard stories of my dad being cuffed, before we were born. But that was the first time ever we saw my dad cuffed and hooked into a jail. Um, so as that this is going on as well, I'm my mom goes through a whirlwind of emotions. I'm not gonna say a lot of. I'm just gonna go ahead and not talk about what she did after that beating, because it's very controversial, and it's controversial in our family, to say the least. Um, so this is just, as, time flew by, I, again, cutting class, not giving not giving two Fs about, classes and grades and SOLs, quite frankly, um, about friends. I just, that was my life. There were times that I would just say, hey, hi, good morning, just to be respectful, or, hi, how you doing, just to be respectful. But other than that, no words, zero, nothing. Like you would, and that's and for those that know me, Naeem, you know this. For those who are frequent who are listeners that know me, friends, family, what have you. I can be very outspoken with certain issues. I can be very outspoken. It takes me a long time to warm up to you, but once you know me or once I get to know you, I'm a very outspoken person. But it was that bad that where again, I just said hi, good morning, good afternoon, see you tomorrow, words. Like it would be those phrases, nothing else. Imagine that, people would try to, hold a conversation, but I was just having none of it. I would just literally sit, go to Campagno's room, sit on a little, wooden chair in front of his desk and not say a word. And he would be like, trying to be like his jokester self. He's like, are you gonna sit here and talk to me, or are you gonna just gonna sit there and stay quiet? What's the deal? And I wouldn't even say anything. Like I did not say like it was that bad to the point where there were times where I was just so depressed, and it took a long time for a lot of things to process because at the beginning, my sister was graduating, so she wasn't, she didn't have, but there were times that she would um, flip out at home, flip out at her job because she was working at different spots as well, um, as a side job. You know, my brother would skip school due to depression. And here's the thing, I was when a lot of things happened, I was trying to keep the spirits up. I'm like, hey, you guys can't be like um you guys can't be looking down. You need to keep moving forward, like look up, look forward, like keep forward, like don't allow a lot of things to distract you. But that was because I probably it didn't sink in a lot until after, because there were days where I would just stay home. I just stayed home from school, and that was because a lot of the issues finally got to me as well. um so you probably this was this went back and forth throughout high school. Of course, there were other issues to deal with the other blind student that came into Hilton, but that's a whole nother story. And due to her respect and privacy, I'm not going to divulge what I also had to contend with her, because there were times where you know her and I, she would, and it's still to this day where she talks about her life being crap. Got news for you, honey. A lot of people go through crap and you don't even know it. I was one of those people, and there were things that she kind of knows, kind of knew, and then she would use that against me, per se. But that's all I'm gonna say about that. So you may wonder, what's the rise? How did Oscar, overcome, you know, family selfishness, unhappiness? You know, how did he get himself out of this hole from, tanking his junior year, getting 360s, 350s on his SOLs, to being able to walk across that stage. Um, Quite simple. Took one meeting, and I think I alluded to this earlier. In my previous episode, that we did, about myself, and it just took one meeting and one person to say, "This isn't the Oscar that walked in freshman year." Um, that go getter, that type that would not allow a lot of. Granted, yes, people would walk all over me, but it's because I didn't know how to advocate. This is 2, 3 years later, and I just allowed people to walk all over me because I wanted to, because I just didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like putting up a fight. So it just took one meeting, one small meeting, one person to say, this isn't the Oscar that walked in those doors. We don't, we know what you've been through personally, because, I did talk to them about, what was going around with my family, along with, we, we don't know what's going on, but, you need to put that all aside, because we know, we can see it in your face that you want to, graduate, you want to be a successful, but the person that you are now is not going to get anywhere. You can't hide behind excuses. You can't hide behind, you know, being walked all over, like being walked all over. You have to find that fire. This Oscar that we see right now, it's, it's a trashy Oscar. Let's put it that way. I don't know. I don't remember what the correct words were. They're like, we don't want this trashy Oscar. We want the Oscar of old, Oscar that came in freshman, C.D. Hilton High School by storm. You know, there were some glimpses as well in sophomore year, even though that was also you know during the time of the issues as well. But there were flashes of me advocating and talking, and I would get anything I want, the right way. You know, um, and I still treasure that to this day. Still do. Still talk about it. Still think about it. Because if it wasn't for those words of encouragement, I guarantee you, I wouldn't have graduated 2016. I wouldn't have met Naeem in 2016 either, quite frankly. And Naeem, you contributed to my rise as well, because when you met me, as it was stated before in our pilot, I was at VRCBVI not to make friends, but just to get the skills I needed, get up and get out. That was my mentality heading to VRCBVI. But as time progressed, um, you know, as you and I struck up a dynamic and a brotherhood, as I like to call it. It's not a friendship; it's a brotherhood. Um, that you and I have. I don't know what would have happened, because there are times where I do hit you up and I'm like, yo man, like still with family issues, um and again I'll get into those, like I've told you this countless times that I just want to get up, pack a bag, and leave my current location, the safety and security of my home, and just want to live the wildlife. But you've through your reasoning, even as annoying as it is sometimes, I'm able to calm down, see the clearer picture, and just be able to, muster the strength to continue to move on. But yeah, that contributed to my rise as well. A flu influences as well. VRCBVI, like some VRCBVI staff. Not gonna say that, they contributed. Still contribute to this day. Um, I'm in close contact with a certain individual, and I talk to her when I have tough moments. In fact, recently, earlier this year, I think it was right when quarantine actually started. Correct me if I'm wrong, Naeem. So we live here in the safest part of Woodbridge, Virginia. Woodbridge is known as Hoodbridge, but we live on the safest side of town. Um, and I don't know what happened. Don't know how it got started, but someone decided to get my mom's attention. My mom, in her car when she's on her way home. She's literally a street away from my house. And then the next thing the person, rams into her car. My mom pulls over, the car pulls over, and you know, things looked normal, but then, though those people, I guess had bad intentions, decide to beat up my mom, steal her money from her business that she works so hard for. Leaves her for dead. you know she's not herself. Everyone's, everyone's scared, in the house. And I remember, the first person I called was wasn't even Naheem. It was his cousin. Now granted, I called Naeem a few minutes afterward, but I was focused on something else. There was an opportunity presented to Naeem's cousin at the time, but I had to let him know, what was going on. But the next person I called was Naeem, and I was very shaken, very scared. Naeem, I don't know if you could tell when that happened. Um, just by the sound of my voice. Um, it's that fear is still to this day, because I would remember, I would be confident enough to walk. If I needed to go out for a walk, I could just go out. I would know my way around my streets, here in my house, but I can't do that by myself anymore, just because of that. I'm very scared to get jumped on that same street. And it took a lot of encouragement. A lot of people did say, hey, it sucks. Unfortunately, we may or may not know what you're going through, but just if you need someone to talk to, that you can. And that's the whole thing that I'm trying to convey here is, on the contrary what was going on in my high school days, to as I grew into a young adult, and now a full on 23 going on to 24-year-old. I can't keep feelings bottled up. And Naeem, you and I joke around on how I have um a deepest, darkest part of my soul where I like to bury a lot of my issues. but there are times that I do let, those emotions get the best of me, and I cannot have that. Um, so I guess the message that I'm, conveying here is that, I, you have to find someone or someone's, keyword plural, someone's, that you guys can trust and talk to, because they can either contribute even further down your, your hole of, despair, like that person that I was referring to in high school, or they can pick you up, help you up, give you a hand, and support you until you're ready and you can say, you can let go. I can stand up on my 2 feet, because again, I went through a lot. That was, I let in a lot of, gist. In fact, I'm gonna tell you this. I've only from I've only lived in 3 houses. I would like to say count the apartment, but again, because I lost my vision due to hydrocephalus, and due to the hydrocephalus and that accident, I don't remember much of, what happened before 4 years old. But I moved on the count of 3 times. So we lived in another part of Woodbridge for 10 years. 10 years. And because my mom and dad were going through, a very nasty divorce, very bad separation. My dad, speaking of tanking, me tanking junior year, but here's the thing, tanking in a school is nothing like tanking in life. Because my dad, just didn't care. We lost the house that, I grew up in from 8 to 18. From when I was 8 years old, had to move when I was 18, 19. He, because he allowed his personal issues with my mom get the best of him, because he decided not to pay his part of the mortgage, his part of the rent, and he had the means to do so. Lost that house. We're required to, live here in our current location. Not the best, but you know, that's a huge comparison where my dad allowed his personal issues, his personal problems, his personal feelings to get the best of him. Um, on to where emotions, problems, got the best of me at one point, but I was determined, still determined, to turn those around. Because yes, I live, I still live in a crappy world. Everyone does. But I'm determined to make the best out of the situation and just move forward. Because I still hear whispers. You don't have to do anything really with your life. That's the typical, parents' response. We got you. But at one point, your parents aren't going to be there anymore. What are you going to do then? So that determination, that stems from my personality. That determination. From me shutting myself off to not caring about school um to having that one person that set me straight, to having a whole network of people to set me straight when I fall short of certain things. So again, as I stated earlier, you can't let your emotions get the best of you. You have to be determined to fight your emotions, fight your problems, to be successful, to be determined to make something out of your life. Because to this day, and I am you, again, I give you a lot of slack for it, because, and I hope you know where I come from, and I'm gonna give the floor to you here in a few minutes, because I'm about to wrap up. There are certain times where I tell you, yo, man, like, don't stop taking the easy way out of certain things. You know, that stems from my issues, my experiences, because I remembered I used to take the easy way out of a lot of things, and that wasn't the right way. So, anyways, so that's again my message to the viewers that watch this video, that watch these segments. Um, like, comment, subscribe. Naeem, you have the floor now to, discuss, your opinions on what was, touched on in this episode. So the floor is yours whenever you can unmute yourself. Ask questions as well if you have any questions.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it for me is speechlessness. I am grateful, and I will say there's an Islamic and Arabic phrase that goes Alhamdulillah, which is the equivalent of the Alleluia that they say in in many Christian contexts. I'm not sure if that's Greek, Latin, Hebrew. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the equivalent. And I think the point I'm trying to make here is I have to stop for a second and pay grace. Um, Realize with much gratitude the blessings that I have in life, Alhamdulillah, I'm very, very glad, very proud to have a wholesome, and I'm not saying this in any derogatory or insulting way, a wholesome, complete, 99% functional family. Um, no one and nothing is ever 100%, so that's why I say that. And for me, I had troubles in high school, but they were troubles by choice, if that makes any sense. I had, pardon me for putting it this way, I'd dick around with some of the wrong people sometimes, but that was choice. Your struggles in high school were due to an emotional burden that was hoisted upon your shoulders in the most formative years of your life. And I think just that simple comparison, and it's not fair or doing you justice to make comparisons between my life and yours, but that simple, that parallel I'm trying to draw here, I guess, allows me to have to pause and be grateful. Life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? Isn't that the phrase, making lemonade out of lemons? And I think hardships teach people that, because otherwise we want to get caught up into first world problems. OMG, why ain't my coffee hot enough? OMG, why is this plate of food not big enough for my belly? Those are the things we want to get caught up in if we don't have time to appreciate the real obstacles in our lives and the real delights. Your cup of joy is only as deep as sorrow carves it. Your cup of joy is only as deep as sorrow carves it. Sums up Khalil Gibran Khalil Gibran's poem in his book The Prophet, which talks about a cup of wine, maybe a cup out of stone or glass, being carved, and this cup, its depth is being determined by the joy to sorrow ratio. The analogy is referring to the joys cannot be valued, the joys cannot be appreciated, the joys cannot be consumed to their fullest without the balancing act of sorrow. Because if everything is given and granted to one, such as myself, sometimes hard to be grateful. Why should you have to be grateful when, what is there to be grateful for? It just kind of came to your feet, to my feet. So I think this is a very humbling story for me. Humbling lessons, humility. I think another thing I'm taking away from this is a realization that one is a product of who they associate with. One is a product of who they are a part of a group of. You know, you are the sum of your 5 closest acquaintances. And for me, you instilled seriousness, determination, grit, reality, appreciation, and value into my life. For you, I hope I gave something positive. But what I know for me is I gained positive from knowing your experience, from knowing your story, from being granted the honor of being a part of your story ultimately. I think it's easy to look at someone on the outside and say, this person's hard. This person's not sociable. This person, they must be bitter. They must be cynical, pessimistic, salty, disgruntled. But if you don't get to know a person and know who they are, know what their experience is, you don't get to judge. Another thing I want to highlight is we all have our struggles. So no one should appear above someone else. An example you gave was your dad beating your mom. Some folks, some families, some family values would say, stay out of it. They'll resolve it amongst themselves. They're a married couple. Don't get involved. Period. Others will say, hey, I gotta save my mom, man. This is getting abusive. This is getting out of hand. And they will intervene. No answer is a wrong answer.
And here's the thing. I had to be the main focal point. You know, I was very outspoken with certain things like that, like because my mom was ready to, again, welcome him back with open arms, even after, it took Naeem. Guess how long it took my mom to tell my dad, come back to the house. I think I did tell you this.
I mean, he should really appreciate that she's even giving him that second chance.
No, but like take a guess at how long it took her to, mind you, almost beat her to death.
Maybe 3 months, 6 months. I probably wouldn't have even given him that chance.
Not even close. Try, you said 3 months. Try three,
approximately.
4 hours.
Pardon?
Try 3 or 4 hours.
He did not appreciate the gem he had, is all I'm gonna say. I mean, honestly, I don't know the dynamic. It's not my place to make decision, but I know I would have respected him as my children's father. I would have respected his place as the head of the household as far as my children are concerned. But if he ever laid a hand on me, say I'm his spouse, I'm his wife, just theorizing. If he ever laid a hand on me, I would have been out that door, and in 3 or 4 hours, he would have been getting a call from my attorney about, okay, so let's go through with the divorce and decide custody and finance and matrimony and estate and child support and all the fun, messy stuff that go into divorce. I mean, there are a few lines that have to be drawn in the sand, and everyone decides what those lines are, what those boundaries are. As far as I'm concerned, physical contact, unwanted physical contact, physical abuse is one of
Again,
those
I'm
lines
again,
drawn
I'm
in the sand.
I'm
Yeah.
again, I'm not gonna talk about the things that he did afterward.
And
I mean,
I'm not here to
he
act.
didn't lay a hand on her afterwards, but it was ridiculous. It's still ridiculous to us to this day, because we still again, as I said, it's a very controversial topic within our family. Like my mom, sometimes, you know, she doesn't like to hear the truth, and there are times where we do lay it on her,
And I'm not here
and
to act.
she flips out. Because
I'm not
again, it's a very controversial topic because we sometimes we bring it up to her at times. She melts down. We talk we talk about it between us three, Alma, myself, and John, who are my siblings. It's again very it's been 6 years. Imagine that, 6 years since that's happened, and we still talk about it.
I'm not here to act holier than thou or to say I think she should have been stronger a character or she should have been more prominent a determinant factor and a figure in her own life, but it sounds like she has handed him, from my point of view, and I don't know the dynamics, and it's not for me to judge when I don't know the dynamics. From
Again, we
my
don't know
point
to
of
this day,
view,
so you and I are probably on the same boat. We're all probably on the same boat, man. Because again,
yeah, I
we
think
still
I
don't
think
understand the dynamic between those two.
wow, I think she gave him reins of control that she should not have. She gave him the steering wheel in places she should not have. I don't know. I may be naive to call it blind love. I'm not sure if that's what it is. It's
So
hard
according
to
to
think a woman is giving her man, her husband, whatever you want to call him,
so
the
according to
opportunity
her,
to treat her so wrong, so raw, so dirty, and just and she be forgiving at every turn of the corner. I mean, cheating, okay, maybe infidelities can be addressed. I don't even justify those, but I don't know. I've never been a cheater or cheated on, but for some folks, infidelity is the last straw. For others, you can work past that. But I think, and you're saying the physical abuse only had happened once, correct?
in front of us, and to our knowledge, yes, but there have been stories. But again, I don't know. I'd rather not say just because I don't know.
You're not certain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, wow, it's a mystery. I guess only either of the two of them can answer. Um. So, are you comfortable in saying in chatting about what has happened since then, or do you see
Well,
that to be
well,
unimportant to what you're trying to
well, here,
communicate here?
well, here's the thing. my
Mm-hmm.
mom's, currently going through some issues, with her current marriage as well. And I'm not going to talk about that just because I don't know much of the details. But
Okay.
I'm going to talk about, what she related to us. Still telling us to this day, even though we kind of are like, why, pretty much. But at the same time, again, I can only speak for myself. Um, I don't know much about, Alma and John, but the reason why she, stayed for my dad for so long, which was 22 years, through all that, was because she wanted to give us the most healthiest of, family lifestyle as possible. Because again, I think I've joked around with you, about this. I've told you, hey man, I don't think your family would approve of me if I came from a really like broken household, because again we just don't know what would have happened. But to this day, that's the story that she's told us. I don't know if that's the way, I get, I guess what it is, what it is. I guess I'm not gonna give my opinions on that, because again we just don't know. But she claims that she did it all for us, that because she loved us, I guess, she made decisions based on us, not because of her, but because of us. But again, that's pretty much the gist of.
There are certain affairs of the heart that will remain within the heart. And I know that from experience in having my heartstrings pulled and my heart tested to the limit, in the emotional, romantic sense. And there are certain things that I've never and probably will never articulate out loud to anyone, of how I feel about certain experiences, certain happenings in my life as far as they pertain to the heart. So I genuinely believe everyone has their reasons, and everyone's reasons are justified as long as they're justified to them and they felt they've done what's best for themselves. You can only do what's best for you, and that's the best you can do, right? And I think the result that matters at the end of the day is you are trying to be as happy as you can. You've tried your best, and that's the best you can do. And it's important to realize we may not agree with decisions others in our family make, and we may never know why they made those decisions. They themselves may never know or may have never articulated it, but they know deep within why they have made those decisions. When the heart says go, just be ready. When the heart says come back, be ready. When the heart says leave, be ready. The point of the matter is be in touch, be in sync with your emotions, with your heartfelt motivations, but also be in sync with the logical, tactical decisions that will be presented to you, the options. And no decision's a best decision. You can only find out whether you made a good decision or a bad decision based on the results. And you won't find out until you see the results. So don't try to make the best decision. Make the decision that feels right to you based on your intuition. And I think in your mom's case, in any other person's case who are in relationships that some may deem as toxic, that's what they're going to have to do. I know there are other aspects of psychological mind control, there are other aspects of toxicity that I don't know whether were present or not in your parents' marriage. But what I
Mhm.
do know is sometimes in those toxic relationships,
it's easier said than done to get out of them. You can say I'll get out, or you can tell someone get out, but can they really get out? How easy is it for them to get out? This is a poor analogy, but think of an alcoholic. They'll tell you all day they wanna put the bottle down, and some really genuinely mean it. Some really genuinely, honestly mean it. They just don't know how. It's gotten such a grip on them. And I think that analogy can be applied to relationships that some may deem as toxic. And I don't know that you're comfortable or you would even dare call your parents' relationship toxic. Maybe it wasn't. But
I mean, again, we to this day, Naeem, it's a love-hate relationship. Like they sometimes, I guess, might. So I think again, you and I talk off air about there are certain family members that have that little button where you put once you push that button, you've gone too far. For me, the person that has that button is John, my brother. I don't know what it is because I love him to death. Him and Alma both annoy me. But Alma, it's more of like the happy, just like trying to like have fun with me. It's like John, sometimes it is, but when it comes to like serious things and he doesn't get his way and he tries to insult people, he has that button. Like he pushes that button. He has pressed that button so many times to the point where I have beaten him at certain times almost to death. Almost, of course. It took a lot of my family, Alma, John, not John, Alma, my mom, even my dad at certain times to to yank me off of him, or if fights between my sister got that heated, because I'm not gonna lie, there were times where you know I chose. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. At the beginning, I chose my dad over my mom, and that set up a huge rift between myself and Alma. Of course, I don't know if it because again, me and John weren't really that close. When we're only 2 years apart, so during our teen years, we really weren't that close. We're closer now than what we were, but it's still not as close. Um, but you know, there were times where we would get physical, and there were certain things that I did. Like I remember when I guess she said something ridiculous. You know what the lowest thing I did? I spat in her face. That's how low I went. Like I like she, her and I, that argument of the whole entire choosing the family dynamic or whatever, what have you, you know, was so bad that spat on her face, and it could have gotten physical. But I'm telling you, my mom and my dad literally had to pull us apart. She literally told Alma, go because they were going out. I think they were going to the mall. I don't remember. Um, they were going out. I think her and I were fighting in that time frame as well. Because I remember my dad pulled me off as well, and I'll get into what he said after. But you know, her and I have had fights, very serious as well. I'm not. So I was talking about what my so I think it was this again family life very it was very stressful during those times when my mom and my dad were getting divorced. So my sister and I were on one side, we were on one side and one side only, and I guess she was mocking me to my brother. I took it personally and attacked her, like mauled her, and was this close to actually like balling up my fist to strike her. It took again my mom, my dad to, and I think my brother as well to like pull me off of her. And they decided, Oscar, you stay here, calm yourself down. We're gonna go out. You know what my dad said, and this was after the whole entire him beating my mom situation was, and I guess this is proof that I need to give him credit as as a father, as a father that did a lot of horrible things to the family. But I guess I should give him credit where credit is due. He told me, he was like, look, he was like, I know that right now the situation is bad, and I own up to that. However, don't go and make the situation worse. You don't want, I already have a record. I already have a police record. This family does not need to have two people with records. It was like, we don't need to have that, added into the situation. So, get your, he told me, he was like, get your emotions in check, in check.
I think this is why I have to remember that I'm in no capacity really, and I'm just being honest with you, to sit here and judge folks who get physical with other folks or folks who get blinded with rage and end up doing stupid. I don't have to begin to justify that, but I have to remember it's not black and white. Like, I'm pretty sure, again, no justification, but it was the dynamic, it was the anger, it was the lack of settlement, it was the emotional stress that may have caused you to react the way you did towards your sister. It was the anger and tension and strife and struggle. And you said you were sharing when your dad struck your mom, but there had to have been a verbal altercation beforehand. There had to have been some sort of words traded back and forth.
Again, I don't know, just because again I was in the shower. This is according to my siblings. Things were quiet from the room side of things. In fact,
Yeah.
I think the three of us actually went our separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think I went to go shower. I think my brother went back to his room to play his little video games because he's a video game person.
Yeah.
I don't know what Alma went to go do because she lived in the basement, but I think she stuck around upstairs just to see what was going on. But I don't know. And then all of a sudden, I think my sister and my brother hear screams, and then that's when all everything broke loose.
Regardless, I think it forces us to realize, someone like myself to realize these occurrences in life are never black and white. They're never victim and victimizer or victim and oppressor, oppressed and oppressor. There may be some clear dynamics as to who's negatively manipulating power plays, but for the most part, in most of these situations, it takes two to tango, you know? Can't tango by yourself. And you won't be striking a wall unless the wall moved in a way that made you imply you have to strike. And I repeat, this is no justification for physical abuse. Domestic violence is a very real thing. I'm gathering from the situation with your parents, it wasn't a common occurrence. It wasn't a regular thing.
Yeah,
But
no.
it wasn't a regular
But
thing,
it stemmed from a lot of
other tension growing.
yeah.
The pot was boiling over. And I think that's kind of why the question had to be forced upon every member of your family to say, is this really a healthy way for us to live our lives? Is this really a healthy maintenance of relationships? And I think the fact that emotional tension, strife, and struggle escalated as a result of the physical altercation between your mother and father meant things were only going to go down south or escalate unless someone took control of the reins, or each individual took greater control of their individual lives, individual life. And if I may ask, which way did it turn out, or did it turn out as a combination of both? Did it turn out that each person took control of their own life and moved about their way? Did it turn out that someone stepped in the role of authority and set everyone straight? Was it a mix of both? How did it turn out ultimately?
Again, a very controversial topic, because so when we lost that house, um, and we live here now, like where we live now. My dad contributed to the move, but I think he contributed to the move in hopes of moving with us after the whole entire you know um situation. My sister, said, because she was the person now, like after my dad decided to tank and not pay the bills and the rent, she spoke honestly. She was like, I'm the one that's was paying the bills, paying the rent, here. I don't care if you live here, but please, let me know if you're gonna be contributing to the rent. Because if you're not, then you might as well not, live here. Because I'm not taking in freeloaders. I personally said, because my brother was the person to not care, and he stayed silent, even though I'm not gonna sit here and say, you know I wanted my, because everyone wants to have a complete family, don't get me wrong, because my brother did say, you said something, but on the inside you wanted dad to live with us. Of course I did. But I said this to him. I was like, look, you contributed to this family's downfall. Quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of this, bickering and, arguing and, what have you. I want to, move on with my life. I need to establish myself back into a normal, sense of life. So I think it would be best for you to leave, find somewhere else to stay. And I think that actually like hits him hard because he brings it up. He's like, I can't believe the son that I would do anything to protect was the one to actually say, get out. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Some decisions are hard. Some decisions are hard. Some have to be made that we don't want to make. And sorry, my voiceover. And we have to realize the gravity of those decisions.
Yeah, I agree. But Naeem, it's just because I know that you have a busy schedule. It's about 10:06 now, so would you like to wrap up? Because again, I know that you have um schoolwork to get done. I know that a lot of things were thrown to the wayside, today. Again, I was trying to get a hold of you throughout the day, just wasn't able to. I know that we had, a plan put in place, but I guess we'll develop something next week, and I guess so. I guess we can, it's not much a secret anymore. I guess just because the way that I posted the last episode. So, folks, before we wrap up here. Did I lose? Okay, sorry. This is, I was getting an incoming call, so I was trying to make sure that the recording wasn't stopped. But so we decided for season 2 just to be a little bit more organized. We decided that because, and this contributed to it too, is we need a more organized structure for our channel. So we decided to post little clips for each of our episodes. It would be different random clips. So for example, this, I picked two of my, two of just random clips from, the Talking Blindness from the Side Perspective episode. I just picked two random clips from those episodes. Here it's going to be the same. I'm going to be posting just two random clips from this episode using Audacity, of course. If you're wondering how I, separate these clips because this is one full-on movie. But we are, using Audacity to, divide the clips up to be a little bit more organized and, have more viewers, watch our channel, watch our video so that way we can get that viewership up and that subscriber up. So we decided to, post random clips and post the full episodes maybe a few days, maybe even weeks after those clips were posted. So expect this episode, a few clips to be dropped at some point, maybe later this week or next week, and then the full episode here in a few weeks. Again, Naeem and I have to, get together and work on the rest of the episodes, which again we're looking to lock down some more guests or the remaining guests that we want on season 2, and also look forward to watching Naeem's Microscopic Insecurity. I think you guys. This episode is a little bit dark. Naeem, would you summarize your episode to be dark or not? For me, not as dark as this episode, we might say, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say my episode is dark. I think it's more relatable than we would like to think. I think it's something many of us young guys have done in our lives, and maybe the question is, why am I so late to the party? But yeah, I think in summary, no, I wouldn't call it dark. I would call it some may describe the events that took place as immature. Some may describe the events that took place as, just an individual who's growing up and who's really learning more about themselves and finding out who they really are. And others may describe the events that took place differently. But what I would say is, I think it's more relatable than I initially thought it was. Because when I conveyed the story to close friends, VIP folks in my life, if you will, I was surprised at how many of them were like, yeah, that's me too. So I think it's more relatable than I initially thought. I guess yeah.
So look for that episode. Maybe not next week, but in a few weeks. Again, I still haven't made up my mind how clips are going to be posted. I'm still trying to figure that dynamic out. But if you guys would like to chime in with your thoughts on how I should, do clips, I know I've heard from Jason Alamio, who has been our greatest friend and greatest co-host
Friend of the
slash
show, but
guest,
also
the
mentor,
greatest
friend,
critic,
all
greatest
kinds of
critic
things.
of
Mhm.
of the show. Has chimed in with his opinion on how things should be done on our channel. But if you guys would like to see what likes to be done on our channel, please let us know in the comments below, or you can do it one of these next following ways. So Naeem, let's wrap up. How can people get in contact with you?
I love receiving email. I really do enjoy receiving email. Feel free to email me. Don't worry, I don't bite. I can be emailed at nmabulhawa@gmail.com. That's NM as in New Mexico, ABU, B as in boy, ELHAWA @gmail.com. Once again, NMABUELHAWA as in Washington State @gmail.com. So nmabulhawa@gmail.com. I love sharing discourse, so send a meaningful email with either constructive feedback or thoughts or questions or anything. And I hope to get in contact with you at my earliest convenience, but also in a convenient timely manner for you as well. So get in contact. I love sharing discourse.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at OscarJMontiel37. You can email me at OscarJMontiel37@gmail.com. You can actually subscribe to my channel, which I talk about sports, mainly football, Washington football team, along with European soccer. Um, by the way, next week, hopefully, we're gonna start including, different people in our podcast. So I guess we can start dropping little hints and dropping people that we would like to have on our show. Next week, we hope to have Mr. Ed Oliver, who is a Washington football team YouTuber, basketball YouTuber. Again, for next week, hopefully, or here in these coming episodes, if you will. Just because again, we don't know how many weeks this is going to take. Again, Naeem and I have to tackle logistics here after we come off air,
Yeah,
next week
for sure.
next week at some point. But
For sure.
that our main ways again. My channel is Oscar J Montiel. Or sorry, not Oscar J Montiel. I'm still used to it's Oscar Josue Montiel. Again, I usually talk sports. Starting to talk about a little bit about technology. Still trying to figure out what to talk about in technology, just because I have spoken technology on different people's channels before, but I'm still trying to work out those kinks. But other than that, that's the way you guys can find me either on YouTube or on Twitter. Other than that, guys, this was No Nonsense, the No Nonsense podcast. Like us, subscribe, share this video,
Be
and
sure
we
to
will see
comment.
you. Oh, there you
Comment
go.
respectfully,
Comment.
of course, but be sure to
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, be sure to comment, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you all for engaging us, and thank you for joining us on this pleasant autumn evening. Thanks, guys. Love y'all.